up on us, step up on us. Diamonds. Diamond, diamond, diamonds. Diamonds. Diamond, diamond, diamonds on my wrist. When I step up on us, step up on us.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys underneath the Freight Coach Network umbrella. It's the inaugural show. It's the flagship show. And we're just here to break down some reality for you guys. We are here to provide education and insight into the transportation industry for you guys to utilize and apply and see a meaningful difference today. With all of these crazy fucking headlines that are going on out there, we're just here to bring some normalcy to you, to show you how to navigate through any single freight market out there. I got a very special guest for you guys, but before I bring him on, got to bring you guys up to speed about my friends over at VHub. They're the ones who make this show possible every single day. Asset reallocation is the future in freight. You guys, we need to utilize trailers. That's what our customers want at the end of the day. That's what our carrier partners need. So right now, current network of freight that we got out there, we got these one-way repositionings going on. And as you can see, you get paid $1,850 US just to move it. That's on top of the revenue that you get for the freight that you load up in that trailer. As you can see, we got Clearfield, Utah going over to Delta, BC. We got Paragould, Arkansas going over there, as well as Glade Spring, Virginia. And then we have some domestic US to US moves right now. We have some trailers down in San Diego. You guys, we got them going up over into Spokane, Washington. And then also they have one going over to DFW, man, going over to Irving, Texas as well. So again, as you can see, you get paid to do it. So that's fuel money. That's revenue added into you. So again, check it out, you guys, vhubapp.com. Hit up my man, Xavier Campos. He's going to be in the audience here, as well as my friend, Stacy Steen. She's going to be in the audience as well. Hit him up, you guys, to learn out more about that. And yes, Vitaly, VHub's a new sponsor. Vitaly is just being a smart ass, you guys. As always, he's a friend of mine. I got my man, Adam Wingfield. Adam, what's up, dude?
What's up? Good morning. Happy Monday.
Yeah, happy Monday to you as well. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. We got a lot to talk about, but at the end of the day, man, we're just here to bring the realities of the transportation industry for these people every single day. So what's new in your book? You got this event coming up here in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, super excited about that. Kind of the survival boot camp that we were talking about over the last month, really trying to focus on the small guy. Some of the carriers that are getting into the business, or that have gotten into the business, have done so over the last 2 years. So notably, they haven't seen this side of trucking before. So our goal is to really provide them with a blueprint to help them become more successful and help navigate through the ups and downs, and hope to create sustainability for them for the long term.
No, absolutely. So just for like a little sneak peek, this is going to be very hands-on. This is what we need to follow right now to navigate through any freight market, but especially right now as the tides start to turn.
Absolutely. We've got 10 very, very specific kind of workshop targets that we be going through in order to help them to walk away with a blueprint. And that's the biggest thing, is we wanted to provide a blueprint.
No, that's what it's all about. My friends over at VHub have sponsored some seats. The Freight Coach Network, we've sponsored 2 seats as well. And owner operators, companies, whomever, reach out to me. I'm looking to fill those seats. And like I told Adam, I pledged Adam, and I'll say it out here as well. If once we fill these 2 spots that the Freight Coach Network are sponsoring, I'll go up to 3 more. And we'll get up there and get 5. And just because, again, you guys, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm not going to talk about this shit. I want to see action for people to apply in their daily lives with this stuff, because we just got to find a way. And Adam's got a platform to show you the blueprint on how to navigate through these freight markets.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. And again, I challenge all folks to do the same. If you're really, really specific about changing the industry, let's provide solutions, and let's get them in the room where they can actually learn and get better. And I think it ultimately will impact everybody for the benefit of the industry.
No, and that's exactly what we need. Casey, good morning. Alma, good morning to you as well. Hey, we're at day 51 of the Freight Coach Tally. There being a truck parking issue as well as a facilities issue in this industry. And again, I will continue to bring this up until drivers stop texting me pictures of this stuff. All right. As soon as that stops, then I'll stop bringing it up. That's the meaningful change that I'm looking for. And again, please, you guys, this isn't a generalization that this is fucking everywhere. I know this isn't everywhere, but it's happening in a lot more places than people want to admit. Also, your daily check-in on fuel is at $5.71 a gallon. That is updated today. So hopefully that number fucking goes down, but it doesn't look like it just based off of the projections that you're seeing out there. I get my information from EIA.gov. on that. You guys check it out. And then also my friends over at Trucker Tools, you guys, they have this in their app, which is free for drivers. If, you know, whatever route you're running, if it's Charlotte over to Little Rock, Arkansas, they pull up fuel stops along the way to show the most cost-effective fuel price for you. And you do something like that as well in your stuff, don't you?
100%. We do what's called fuel route optimization, to where we're actually teaching folks how to do that and really how to stretch the miles per gallon of the truck out, find the cheapest fuel along the route, and really try to teach people on how to spend less at the pump, because the less you spend and the less that you consume, the more that you put on the bottom line. That's just easy math.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So like, is that one thing now, like fuel is obviously the biggest expense to a company right now at this point, right?
Yep, 100%. I remember the days that, when I was navigating through it back in 2008, where fuel prices were astronomical. They're almost $5 a gallon. And I know, people are laughing at $5 a gallon right now, like, yeah, hold my beer type stuff. But realistically, back then it was very, very different, because we were only getting $1.20 a mile on a line haul rate. So it's so important that we actually ration fuel out. And I can tell you many times where I was in the state of California and I'm looking at the fuel gauge and I'm like, you know what, I'll wait till I get across the border before I buy any more fuel out of this place. And you have to be very, very strategic on where you fuel, how you fuel. You got to understand, what your range is on your tractor and things like that is really, really important, because, when we were fat, we were sitting fat, and owner operators and small fleets could care less about fuel prices. They were blowing diesel smoke up and down the highway and it didn't matter. But now with fuel being the way it is, now it was time to really kind of think about how to tighten down on it. So we're continuous in the education process, Chris, just continuing the education process.
No, man, that's all we can do. So what's up with DEF right now? What's going?
So, it's funny. There's no shortage on DEF, and the thing is I actually kind of looked into that, even on a deeper level, and even from a bulk standpoint, there's no shortage on DEF, and you can't really necessarily kind of align DEF fuel with diesel fuel, because it's two totally different things. It's just an additive that uses other chemicals to help with that science experiment that's going down the road. But I haven't seen a DEF shortage, and I don't see anything that can validate a true bulk DEF shortage.
Okay, yeah, because I saw a couple of articles break this morning talking specifically about a DEF shortage. And now what's that acronym? It's diesel what?
What is this? Diesel exhaust fluid, and
that's
right. The DPF system, which is a diesel particulate filter. All of that is part of that big science experiment that creates a lower emission. Because you remember the days when you go down the highway and trucks are blowing black smoke into the air. Well, so
rolling coal.
Yeah, that's it. So what the DEF system does, the DEF system creates this huge science experiment to where it removes all of those carbon deposits into the air and try to make it a lot more cleaner.
No, absolutely, man. No, that's good. Again, it's what and like this information is relevant if you're a broker. Just throwing that out there. This is stuff that you need to pay attention to, because I know this comes as a shock to some. Your product is the trucks that arrive at our shippers. Just throwing that out there for you. Asya, I hope I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I'm sorry if I dropped the ball there, but good morning to you. Matt Fink. He may or may not be on the podcast this week. Long form interview may or may not be released tomorrow. Just throwing that out there. Doesn't appear to be hugely impactful, but the Department of Energy did change their calculation methodology. Jesus. Even with the minor change, small operators need to watch this like a hawk. Wingfield could do an entire week on proper fuel management. I'm sure you could, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's so much that goes into it, man. And I just wish that, that there was more education around that, because, even before fuel went crazy, you can spend, you're buying about 15,000 gallons of diesel fuel per truck per year. Mm-hmm. By the overall price of diesel fuel. And you can't tell me that that's not an important expense to put your eye around. But most of the time, your owner operators are always focused on rate per mile. But, we got to start teaching and instructing on how to control what you can control first. Focus on what is internal on that business perspective, and then we can go in and we can kind of discuss where that rate per mile needs to land.
So with this spike in fuel right now, what is it on average? An extra $400 to fill up a truck, $500 to fill up a truck?
Easily. You think about it, you had 200 gallons that you were filling up a truck at $3, right? $600. Now you're having at $5 or $5.71, actually almost $6, which is almost $1,200. So anywhere between $600 to almost $800 difference, and you got to think about how that, kind of wears and tears on someone's wallet, Yeah,
and that's every 3 days, depending on how they're running.
That's only going to last you 1,200 miles. So If you can get 1,200 miles out of a tank, meaning that your truck's at a top end efficiency, and you can get 1,200 miles out of a tank, it's only like 2 days, man. Every 2 days, you're dropping that kind of coin at the pump, and that's, man, and it's heartbreaking that some people weren't prepared for this.
I know. Well, they weren't for this go around, but we're going to make damn sure that they're prepared for this moving forward.
100%.
That's what it's all about. Before we jump into some articles, good morning, Cody Miller. Devonna, good morning. Thank you for joining us all here today, you guys. First article we're going to break down from FreightWays. Freight Tech Investment. Now, it's like where it's at. Freight Tech Investment, now that the cheap money is gone. As the economy corrects itself, what is the state of venture capital? The tug of war between bear and bull markets is a natural force that elegantly showcases how contrary economic forces actually complement each other over time. However, as quickly as closures happen for the health and safety reasons and compelling lockdown, consumers push demand for goods, often purchased through e-commerce pathways, to new heights, creating a bullwhip of global shipping volumes. And then it's goes on to say about cheap money, please. The shove that got the VC ball moving, including general consumer spending, came in March of 2020 when the Federal Reserve cut interest rates down to nearly zero. That set up $700 billion in quantitative easing programs until it could be more confident that the economy has weathered recent events and is on track to maximize our employment price stability. In layman's terms, the government's monetary policy made borrowing money extremely cheap. So what are like VCs? I think that the initial push, I want to say, was back in like 2017. That's when you started seeing some of these big VC firms start sniffing around in freight. Do you think this changes anything from a VC, like an investment front right now with the way that the market is trending?
I think that in one part of the article, I think this is actually a really good article. And I think one part of the article that would have probably brought a little bit more color surrounding VCs is now it may not necessarily change on the VC side. However, if you're a tech company and maybe perhaps a company that's looking to bring investors into, you got to see what that VC is funded through, because I know I was reading there's several VCs out there that did a lot of funding and a lot of transactions in digital currencies.
Yep.
When you compare VC capital and their capital expenditures in total digital currency and crypto marketplaces, you see a lot of these VCs guys, that had all this money that they were playing around with Bitcoin and things like that. You're going to see a lot of those kind of go in the opposite direction. And I hope it won't negatively impact some of these bigger tech companies that use VCs to actually fund them. Yeah. So I'm just a little curious, kind of what the long term would look like, maybe 6-8 months down the road on some of these VC backed companies and where, a lot of their financing were coming from. And then on the fact of the matter now is that a lot of these tech companies are really kind of in a stagnant place without having additional capital to kind of help build and frame that out. Because one of the things that people don't realize, and maybe, let me say don't realize, people do realize, tech is expensive, man. From paying for developers and development work and continuous requirement changes, tech is super expensive. So you always have to have that funnel in there. I just worry that with freight tech the way it is now, compared to coupled with venture capitalists that maybe were dibbling dabbling in digital currencies and seeing that digital currency thing kind of take a huge tank. I'm just kind of curious on if there's some of those firms out there on the freight tech side world that were backed by some of these VCs.
I think that I think that I don't know a ton about like the .com bust that happened back in, the early 2000s. I haven't done a ton of research on it, but it seems very similar from the surface level research that I have done to what we're seeing right now in freight tech, is that it was extremely easy to secure funding. But what this does, in my opinion, is this forces those napkin ideas that might have gotten $1.5 million or $10 million investments. You now are going to need to actually have a proof of concept applicable and like a framework out there, and like, hey, this is what our model is. This is where we will go, and this is how we're going to apply it. It's not just, hey, we need 10 million, and then somebody's just going to write you a $10 million check anymore. And I think like that's the problem with easy money, and that's coupled to kind of tie into Grace's point. And again, Grace Sharkey wrote a great article here. I thought it was very well put together. But like she was talking about, is like when the feds and when people make it easy to get money for free, essentially they will give money for free or low terms. But I think a major miss that a lot of people see, and this is the problem with an aspect of the social media world, is people see, oh, company A raises $100 million. Okay, but that company has to pay that back. Like, that's not just, they just fucking give them 100 million. Like, yes, there's a runway. Yes, there is a plan in place for them that they have to show a path to profitability, but everybody's number is going to get called eventually. And you can have the greatest fucking salesman on the face of this earth, but if you don't have a product that can perform, you will be out of business. And then you're going to start seeing some of these tough cuts that are going to be happening here, you guys. Because if you were brought in over these last couple of years and you haven't performed, you took advantage of the job market because you could get $100,000 a year salary somewhere else. I'm sorry, but if you're not performing, you're out the door. You're the first one that's cut. Just because you have 2 years experience and a college degree doesn't guarantee you shit in the real world. These last 2 years have been a fucking anomaly for that. And I think there's going to be a very big reality check for a lot of people on if you're as good as you think you are.
You know, I think that, and on top of that, you brought up a great point too, with the whole freight tech and the whole investment strategy. One of the things that I can tell you that I am a little concerned about is any of these so-called quote unquote virtual carriers that have used tech to start up, but they're solely just 100% spot freight carriers.
Yeah.
When you think about the obviously having to pay, like you spoke about it, having to pay these guys back, you got to think about these folks that just secure virtual carriers directly on the spot market that don't diversify into their own platform and have their own customers and have their own strategy. I think that that's where you're going to see a lot of those kind of shaking and moving happen. And I also would think that, just to your point, it was super easy, to get capital from, if you just say, hey, I'm in truck tech, people are going to throw money at you. Yeah. But I think that what you'll see now is you'll see a lot more diligence, and there's going to be, unfortunately, there's going to be some examples made out of some folks that are going to get put out of business just because, they didn't do the right things. And it's going to tighten the wallets up a little bit on a VC standpoint.
But here's also the way to look at it. This is going to raise the game. The shit that you're going to see released now, the shit that's going to receive funding, they're going to be fucking real deal Holyfield shit. Mm-hmm. It's going to be actual game changers. Again, that one was written from Freight Waves. Gray Sharkey wrote a really good article on this one. Freight Tech Investment, Now That the Cheap Money Is Gone, was the title of that. Casey, I think that that's something that happens no matter what. And is there any locking mechanisms that drivers can utilize that are out there, Adam?
Yeah, you can lock your fuel cap. You just got to, obviously that's one of the things. But I can tell you, just from a fuel theft standpoint, I'm glad Casey brought that up. I want not just owner operators to think about that, but fleet owners as well. Small fleet owners, you need to make sure that you're looking at fuel reports every single week. And the reason, and what you're going to look for is you're going to look for multiple transactions within the same day. Because I'm going to tell you what folks are doing out there, and I've caught two different instances of this, where the driver will swipe the fuel card, right? Say he fills up for $1,200 on his truck. There's another truck behind me. He'll walk up to that guy and say, hey, I'll give you a discount and give me $600 cash and I'll fill your truck up. He'll pull his truck up, swipe the card again. That card goes through for $1,200. The guy behind him pays him $600 and then keep it moving. So now in essence, that carrier is out, obviously is out on that transaction. So small carriers, please make sure that you're reading your fuel reports, because there is a lot of kind of that, not necessarily like that, hey, I'm pulling diesel fuel and I'm siphoning it out of the tank, but there's a lot of transactional theft that's actually taking place. So I appreciate you, Casey, for bringing that up.
No, absolutely. And then on top of that as well, if you're a broker out there and you are issuing fuel advances, this is, again, I'm not going to tell you how to run your business. I would highly advise, if you are issuing comm checks for fuel advances prior to proof of pickup, you got to relook at that. Because this is where a lot of those situations happen right now, is they will go out, they'll take 10 loads and they'll ask you these questions in there. Hey, can I get a fuel advance prior to pickup? They're looking for that, And again, it's like, I think it's very fair. If you're going to offer fuel advances, you need to send in the seal number and a picture of the proof of the shipper signing off on the BOL that you were actually loaded with that product, then issue a fuel advance at that time. You got to put something in place to protect that, because again, the driver might not even be aware of this. It might be the dispatcher requesting a fuel advance and then the driver's hosed. And then what happens is, and this is something that happened in my career, you guys, is the dispatcher took fuel advances, wasn't giving the fuel advance to the driver. The driver ran out of fuel, and then we had to comm check the driver direct to get him fuel. And it turns out it was a massive scam that was going on. So like, this is the very real side of this industry that comes out that people don't want to talk about. So again, this doesn't happen all the time, but be aware of a lot of these things that go on. Yeah, Matt, I think you're right there. Unless you're Uber Freight, that's very true. He also goes on to say VC is closer to private equity than anyone will admit. Turns out they care about their money after all. And when the economic environment changes, you will see purse strings tighten up. Amen to that. Second article was from my friends over at the JOC. William Cassidy wrote this one. I really enjoy his writing a lot. And demand for digital truckload spot quotes rises as prices fall. U.S. spot truckloads rates have dropped considerably this year, but not shipper need for real-time connectivity to those. C.H. Robinson Worldwide has seen demand for automated quotes soar, even as truckloads spot rates have fallen. And the demand for automated spot quotes hasn't slowed, and we don't anticipate that it will. And it goes on to say when the markets are tight and spot rates were rising, shippers use automated prices to gain access to capacity in a volatile market. It goes now with the highest contract rates in history. Customers are using technology to access real-time capacity and savings in the spot market. The need is different, but the value in both a tight market and a soft market. What from your perspective, is it like, obviously I'm all about automation. In my personal opinion, 90% of a broker's day should be automated. That 10% should be focused on relationship and partnership building with their carriers and their customers. Because a lot of our jobs should be automated, like at the end of the day. From your perspective out there, does this empower drivers more to make a better buying decision with this automated process that they're talking about in this article?
Not necessarily makes it. I'll tell you what I think. I think that long term, in maybe a 15, 20-year plan, and this is just me just being just optimistic in the time frame. Long term, it fits the better model for when autonomous transactions from a truck perspective and the overall freight tender perspective all can kind of align. Because just think about it. Let's say I'm a shipper and I need to move a shipment from Charlotte to Atlanta, and we're in that autonomous model. Then not only do I not have to talk to a person in order to coordinate it, I don't have to worry about a driver having to negotiate on it. All I can do is issue the tender digitally. The tender digitally it issues autonomously, and then it goes into an autonomous vehicle to create the shipment. So I think it kind of I think it's more long term. Now, what I will tell you is this. I love the model of being able to book a load right now, not having to necessarily talk to anybody because I'm an introvert. So having to talk to anybody, as long as it's fair and as long as it makes sense. It's almost like the Uber, the Convoy, the emerged technologies going along that way, where it's much more of a book it now type function, and I think that's a whole lot better. I actually like it. I'm, from that standpoint, I actually like it. It provides me with less. I don't have to sit on the phone for a long time. I don't have to, get hung up on by a broker. I don't have to get cursed out because of this, that, and the third. But it actually provides a better experience on the front side, as long as the relationship is built on the back side. So I think that from that perspective, I actually like it. And I actually like that how this article kind of geared towards, hey, you know what? You've got the different shippers that are actually using this technology that are helping gear up to help support it. And when you look at Uber and you look at those other folks that are doing it, they have the opportunities, but you can see you can smell what they're trying to cook.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things, and again, we talk about this extensively on this show, is that and this is coming from C.H. Robinson. I'm sure you've all heard of them. They're just a small little operation out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. They go on to say from what they're hearing from their customer base is in the near term, they haven't seen a huge shift to spot, and they don't anticipate one. And that's because of the pain of the last 2 years. Anybody who's operated in this market in the last 2 years understands that this has been a major uphill battle. But it goes on to say that they're staying with their committed carriers, but embedding the real-time pricing capacity in their routing guides. So they're committed carriers, you guys. Those are the ones who didn't take advantage of the market. They provided fair market pricing, and they backed it up with service. All of you people out there, and I don't mean to say you people or anything like that, but everyone out there, and again, and when I say this, you guys, I'm guilty of this shit, fully guilty of this in my career, but we all have those moments that we change our ways. If you were out there gouging and providing shitty service, your seat is about as fucking hot as possible. You are going to be the very first one cut if they haven't cut you already. because there's a big difference between providing fair market rates and executing on it and overcharging for last minute, taking advantage of the situation and then failing, and then knowing that your customer has to continue to work with you because there's no other option out there. So again, I know this isn't everybody, and I'm not speaking in blanket general terms here, but if you've operated in that capacity, you literally better fire up that fucking Rolodex and start finding some new customers, because you're out the door with that. That gravy train's about done. Those biscuit wheels have already fallen off. The gravy train is about to run out of fucking gravy here.
Now that goes both ways too. That goes
True.
on the carrier side too. You know, if you're a carrier that was out there that, you know, that's operating on spot freight, and these brokers were, you know, obviously they were, you know, pushed in when it came to capacity, and you were providing terrible service. You weren't picking up and delivering on time. You had fallouts and you had issues where we weren't communicating the correct way. The same thing is going to happen from that perspective as well. You know, and this is a point in time where it's, you know, I hate to say it, but it happens. You know, transportation goes through cycles. It goes through cycles and always has. Yeah. But these are the cycles for you to look back and say, okay, you know what? I've been dealing with XY carriers, and during the whole market time when I actually needed them, they were like a 40-50% on time. They were, you know, weren't providing great service. Drivers were doing call or foul outs. So that was the thing that I really look at it. This opportunity, it's just time to kind of weed out all of the carriers and brokers that really weren't operating with integrity, weren't operating at a high level. This is an opportunity to really kind of step back and really let the cream rise to the top. And if you were under that model and you were working under that standpoint where you just kind of just going from broker to broker and not providing great service, this is the time that you might find yourself struggling as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That one, JOC.com, demand for digital truckload spot quotes rises as prices fall. Check it out, you guys. I'm a subscriber to the JOC. It's completely worth their very affordable yearly fee to join up, to subscribe to that. They have a ton of great insight that's out there. This last article is from ttnews.com, and that is how the pandemic accelerated change for motor carriers. I know we only got a couple minutes left, so I'm not going to go in and read a bunch of this, but from your perspective, what has improved over the last 2 years in this industry? How, like, change for the good? I don't want to focus on the bad. I want to talk about change for the good here.
So some of the things that I can tell you, the overall, the tech integration, I think that's been a really big push. You know, you see a lot of TMSs, a lot of things that really kind of catapulted. You see a lot of brokers adopting different TMS strategies. So I felt like that's really improved from that perspective. We have seen small carriers get better on the compliance side. So when you look at RoadCheck on 2022, the results of RoadCheck on 2022 versus 2021, there have been some improvements there. So I definitely see some improvements on that standpoint. When it comes to overall insertion into the marketplace, I think that's kind of stayed the same. But visibility, in terms of freight visibility, has also improved, with a lot of different brokers taking on a lot of different strategies to make sure that they really kind of get freight out there. I think relationships, from a desirous standpoint, I see that there's an intent to improve on the broker side. I really do. I think that now, I will say that some of that was out of desperation, and I get it, because hey, we had capacity pinches, but I do feel like there was I feel like there was a nudge in the right direction. Like, and then I don't know, maybe everybody was being nice to each other. I don't know, but there was a nudge in the right direction with the desire to show good faith and goodwill. So I have seen those improvements.
I think, again, this article was from ttnews.com, you guys, how the pandemic accelerated change for motor carriers. And I think that, you know, because it goes on to talk about automation and everything. Automation's going to happen, you guys. Like, it's going to happen. I think how it's sold right now is grossly oversold on what the current capabilities of the autonomous movement are outside of warehousing. All right, I'm talking about the autonomous trucks and everything else. I think we're a lot farther away from being that. And again, you got to look at it like this. 97% of the industry probably is not investing in an autonomous truck that's out there. I think, though, that with where we are in as an industry, is this is literally the inflection point that is needed for, if you draw that line in the sand right now. If you've operated in a certain type of way in the past, it doesn't mean that you have to today. And moving forward, you can make that meaningful change. Because I know of a lot of brokers, because when it shifts to a broker's market, here's my fear. My fear, Adam, is everything that you talked about is going to be completely thrown out the fucking door because they can make an extra couple $100 on the load. They're going to lose sight of that. And that's the cyclical nature of this industry. And again, I'm not here to knock anybody's hustle, but if you don't change, if you stay par for the course and you are out there and you're working with those same carriers, you're paying them above market rates or fair market rates, and you're not out there gouging because you know how hard it is to retain customers. Some of you shippers out there aren't going to want to hear this. It's easy to get customers, you guys. It's hard to keep them because of all of this stuff that's out there. And then furthermore, it's hard to continue to grow with them because you have to provide more than surface level solutions for them. I just want to see if you've operated in a certain way and you've seen success. That success doesn't lie. That success is going to translate to any freight market that's out there, and those are the steps you need to follow.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree. And I really want to see what happens on the other end of this particular cycle in the marketplace to be able to gauge what kind of improvements that we made, because I really believe that true visibility comes in moments like this to determine what direction that we're going. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, hey, that's it for today, guys. Again, that last article is from ttnews.com. All the articles and their links are posted up on my YouTube channel, as well as the podcast, Coffee with the Freight Coach. Again, as you guys know, the Freight Coach Network is a thing. So you're going to see some name changes on some stuff here as I'm getting all of that aligned, you guys, because perfection doesn't exist. But action, it was time for action, and I'm taking that and I'm building this out as I go. It's going to change the fucking industry, though. I can guarantee you that right now. And, Adam, if you're fine with it, I'd like to say what you're going to be doing with all of this as well.
100%.
Adam has agreed to come on as a contributor to more and more of this about what we're doing. And again, it's to provide education and insight. Adam and I are very aligned in how we want this industry to go moving forward. And we plan on collectively working together. All of my experiences as a broker, all of Adam's experiences as a carrier, and some of these other contributing members who are going to be on there, same thing, you guys. We are here to collectively put best practices forward to help people navigate through any freight market that's out there. And that's what we're here for. And Adam's committed to that. And I can't thank him enough, because this guy's a wealth of knowledge. And if you're not following him, for the love of God, follow him, Innovative Logistics, all over social media.
No, I appreciate it. And I love what you're doing. And the biggest thing is to really to invoke the change that's necessary to happen. You hear a lot of people that speak about, oh man, this industry is fragmented, it's screwed up. Yeah. You know what? We don't need people reporting the news anymore, because we know what's going on. We need people committed to change, and we need people committed to helping do their part, because it's going to take a hell of a movement. And I look at it like doing a U-turn on a cruise ship. It's going to take some time, but somebody's got to turn the wheel. And I think that at this point, shout out to you and hats off to you, man, for the platform that you created, and what you're doing, and your passion is really going to make a big difference in this industry, as it already has. So, hats off to you.
That's what it's all about, man. We're going to make this change. I don't talk about, I talk, don't get me wrong. I talk a lot, but action is going to be the resolve that we're all looking for here, you guys. And, enough of people talking and reporting about, hey, the house is on fire. It's easy to sit back. It would be very easy for me to sit back and just worry about my consulting business and just put out content geared towards gaining new clients. It would be very easy for me to do that, but I'm not going to. I'm committed to the collective benefit of this industry, and getting drivers and everybody a fucking platform and a voice to speak on, as long as you have the experience in the industry. Because that's where this change is going to come from, you guys. It comes from, like, nobody's coming to fucking save us. We have to be the ones who are going to step up. I will gladly take the fucking swords and the arrows and everything. I don't give a fuck. All right? Because there's a hardworking man and woman out there who are trying to live their American dream right now, who can see something and completely fucking quit based off of a headline. Well, rest assured, we're going to make sure you don't fucking quit. And we're going to put everything out there that you can to stay in business. Whether you choose to apply it is up to you. But the education that everybody talks about that has been lacking for so long is done. We are providing that education. We are providing that platform for you guys.
Amen.
So that's what it's out. All right, you guys, that's it. We'll be back tomorrow, as always, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, the top morning show in transportation, the Freight Coach Morning Show, the flagship of the Freight Coach Network. And the audio-only replay will be out there on the podcast here in a little bit, and the video replay will be over there on YouTube. Subscribe and share this out, you guys. That's all I can ask of you. Subscribe and share this out, because if you saw value in it, chances are people in your network are going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys all so much, and we'll be talking to you soon.